Leader McCarthy, let's start with the budget from yesterday. How'd that go over in the House?
Well, it's like most presidential budget, lays out a framework of where the administration wants to go. The House will now have to do their work. The concerning I have is yesterday the news I heard where the Democrats may not even propose a budget on the House floor. And that would be the wrong approach to take.
Why would they do that, and what would it mean?
Well, a new article that came out today is that if you've watched the Democrats, they've been in little disarray since they've taken the majority. They've lost a number of votes on the floor. It seems like leadership is fighting with freshmen. And last week was a real defining moment. It really felt like the new Democrat socialists, that's what they call themselves, really took over leadership last week. Why? If you watch the resolution proposed against the language that Omar used, they had to water it down to even get it to the floor. Now the latest article is they don't believe they could actually pass a budget on the floor, and they didn't want the public to actually see that. They thought that would be an embarrassment to leadership. So the latest conversations and talks in this article is that the Democrats are thinking about not even doing a budget.
You know, you've had some experience with trying to wrangle cats in the past. You got any advice for Nancy Pelosi on this front? I mean, she took flack even yesterday when she said she doesn't want to move to impeach the president.
Now, what she said was correct. How can you impeach somebody over not having broken any rules for impeachment? But what you have is, and Nancy Pelosi has this inside her conference, a number of people who wanted to impeach this president the day he won the election. You have Tom Steyer out there spending a great deal amount of money claiming that he has a list bigger than the NRA. He does town hall meetings inside Democrats' districts to get them to make a commitment for impeachment. So I think what Nancy Pelosi, Speaker Pelosi, was trying to do is tell her conference this is the wrong path to take. I believe it's wrong to do, and try to slow the train down because they have no basis for impeachment, but they just want to do it for a political reason.
Leader, I thought that too, and you know, I'm a caring guy, and this morning I was trying to offer condolences to some people that will remain nameless about about not impeaching Trump, but then I saw why some people may be just laying in the weeds. Here's what they're saying about that she was crazy like a fox. According to one Democratic congressional aide, to me, she's laying the foundation to impeach, saying, I didn't want to do it, but the things that came out are so heinous that I have no choice. So I think that maybe you're not necessarily looking at it at face. I think she's got some ulterior motives, and the people that I was trying to console didn't seem concerned at all. So I think that maybe they just think this is part of a way of lulling you into a set. Do you think that's it, or you really don't think she's going to want to? We don't know. Why would she say this before Mueller is out? When Mueller comes out, if there's anything in there that she
decides, the forces before they come.
Yeah, we'll try and quell them. She's saying it so, but she'll say, "Hey, I didn't want to do this, but look at this."
I think she looks at it like, "Look, you're going to lose the greater battle. What happens in 2020 if she tries to do this?"
Look, I think she's going to take it. There's going to be a lot of pushback from a lot of people. This is all they've wanted to do for 2 years. The entire mainstream media, it's all they've wanted to do for 2 years.
Yeah, and if you look at some of her members, like Congressman Nadler, chairman of Judiciary, he's been wanting to impeach this president from the day
he says
of the
he doesn't
election.
want to either.
But if you watch what he's been doing, he's been downplaying the Mueller investigation, because what they are finding now is there is no collusion. If you watch, we're coming up on the 2-year anniversary of Adam Schiff saying that he has proof. He has conclusive proof that he's never produced, even before they had all the investigations.
You know something about Mueller? How do you know there's? That's what I mean. If I were a Democrat, not saying I'm not, but if I were, how do you know there's no collusion? You don't have you haven't seen the Mueller report, have you?
I have not seen the Mueller report, but what I have heard all the way through, the investigations in the House and the Senate, the hundreds of interviews they've gone through, the millions of dollars that have been spent, and both sides, Republican and Democrats, say there's no collusion going forward. There's no evidence in the process.
Nancy Pelosi says unless there is some much more significant evidence.
Well, of course, Nancy's going to say that because you have Tom Steyer's doing town hall meetings. He did one in Congressman Cummings' district. He did one in Nadler's district, all before you had the Cohen hearing. Now think about the Michael Cohen hearing. There were new questions that arose, and the whole point of why you have a investigation, of a Mueller investigation, it was all premised on the idea that Cohen had gone to Prague, which he said he did not. But that's when the Democrats paid for the Russians for this whole dossier that's not true. But that was the foundation of that, of why they believed there was collusion. And now that got knocked away. But you also have raised a lot of other questions, even about that own hearing. We now find that Adam Schiff's own staff went to New York 4 times, spent more than 10, 14 hours with this witness. It's kind of different than what Adam Schiff said before. Now we're finding that Adam Schiff has now met with the owner of Fusion GPS that gave you the dossier that didn't tell people before in 2017 when the committee still had real concerns about Glenn Simpson, who owns GPS, had real concerns about what he had said in his testimony. So there's a lot of questions still out there. So I think what Nancy Pelosi was saying is there's no proof. Why are we still going down this? There's nothing coming to the floor that is substantial in legislation. They're not winning the small things they are bringing to the floor, and it's not the majority they thought they would have.
Leader, let me ask you a different question, because I think we'll just withhold judgment until we actually know exactly where things stand, one way or the other. Look, I think that's Leader. I think that's
hope springs eternal.
I think that's
Hope springs eternal.
Way to do it, and I think it's impossible to look at this situation.
You're right.
And
hope springs eternal. Leave them something. Leader.
I think you're making Joey's point.
To grasp at. Come on, I don't want to get up in the morning if there's nothing to hope for.
Leader, where I wanted to go with this conversation is to a bit of a different place for a moment.
Sure.
That goes directly, actually, to a number of companies in your state, the Facebook, Googles, and other big tech companies, including Apple. Yesterday, or over the weekend, rather, Elizabeth Warren made her case for the idea, not necessarily of breaking up these companies, but at least changing the marketplaces with which they exist. And then very recently, talking about being bipartisan, Rupert Murdoch's News Corporation, Rupert Murdoch, who has been supportive of you on the other side, in Australia, now suggesting that Google should be broken up. Where do you stand?
Well, I think there's real concerns, and if you watched in the last Congress where I was Majority Leader, I brought almost every single CEO into Congress because I do have real concerns. 90 to 95% of all searches on the internet go through Google. If you go on the second page, you lose about 90% of the eyes. Inside, when you start to type in what you're searching for, that query where it gives you about 3 to 4 options, if you put something negative in there, subliminally, that'll be the first place you go to. There's concerns that I had as a Republican in California 2 weeks before our primary. If you put in the California Republican Party, it said our ideology was Nazism. If you watch what they did and the concern, especially after the last election, where many people were upset at the Google meeting because Hillary did not win, and you've heard the other options what's inside Google where they tried to direct or utilize it for turnout, for certain people to turn out, or what was popping up if you typed in the word idiot, how often you'd try to bring in somebody on the Republican side within there. There are real concerns about that. I don't believe that it has to be broken up. I believe in competition, and we want to make sure we have fair competition. But also, are these companies becoming a different form of a type of company? Are they a media company? Are they a content company? And those elements, really the law applies to them differently. And those are the concerns we have. That's why I think it's very important they all come before Congress. But I believe you're wrong about Elizabeth Warren. She said she wanted to break them all up.